French President Emmanuel Macron will discuss with the Polish side the peacekeeping mission, which should protect Ukraine's sovereignty in the event of an agreement with Russia. Former NATO Deputy Secretary General Camille Grand told Rzeczpospolita that during a meeting with newly elected US President Donald Trump, the French leader could have announced Europe's readiness to take the risk of defending Ukrainian sovereignty. France is actively proposing to send a peacekeeping mission to the country, which will guarantee the occupiers do not violate the ceasefire. The French Institute of International Relations is working on the development of a project for this mission. Its expert, Eli Tenenbaum, reported that the military contingent could number 5 brigades, about 40,000 servicemen. Command of 1 brigade could be given to Poland. There are currently only 3 ways to provide Ukraine with security guarantees. The German way, which envisages the country joining the North Atlantic Alliance while part of its territories are under occupation, is opposed by the United States of America and Germany. The Israeli model is uncertain, since the constant supply of weapons to Ukraine will depend on the state of the US and European budgets. The third is the Korean model, an international peacekeeping mission that has been guarding the demarcation line between South and North Korea for over 70 years. It is on this third model, with the inclusion of elements of the first and second, that security guarantees for Kyiv should be based. Grand believes that it is important to involve as many countries as possible and the United States in such a mission, even if their participation is only symbolic. He predicts that after the elections, Germany and the Netherlands may support this idea. According to Western media, newly elected US President Donald Trump is considering the creation of a buffer zone on the Russian-Ukrainian front that would be controlled by military forces of European countries. It has been reported that London and Paris are already discussing how they can protect Ukraine if a peace agreement is signed to end the war.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov claimed on Thursday that Ukraine turned down a proposal by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán for a ceasefire and a prisoner exchange. Peskov emphasized Moscow's openness for negotiations. Russia has never refused to hold peace talks and has repeatedly stated its readiness to resume them on the basis of the 2022 Istanbul agreements, Peskov said in a conference call with reporters. We proceed from the assumption that consultations on reaching peace will continue, Peskov said. The Russian side fully supports efforts by Orbán aimed at searching for a peaceful settlement and solving humanitarian issues related to prisoners exchange.
Премьер-министр Венгрии Виктор Орбан в ходе вчерашнего телефонного разговора с президентом Путиным выступил с предложением осуществить накануне Рождества крупный обмен пленными между Россией и Украиной, а также объявить о рождественском прекращении огня. Россия никогда не отказывалась от мирных переговоров и неоднократно заявляла о готовности к их возобновлению на базе Стамбульских договоренностей 1922 года. В этот же день Федеральная служба безопасности России передала в посольство Венгрии в Москве наше предложение по обмену пленными. Однако, судя по реакции Зеленского в социальных сетях, а также его окружения, украинская сторона отклонила все предложения Орбана. Консультации по установлению мира будут продолжены. Российская сторона полностью поддерживает усилия Орбана, направленные на поиск мирного урегулирования и решение гуманитарных вопросов, связанных с обменом пленными.
The US may give B-61 nuclear bombs to Poland or Ukraine in response to Russia's use of the Oreshnik missile. The national interest tabloid published information. The idea that the West would allow nuclear weapons to be deployed in Ukraine, which is not a NATO member, is essentially insane. Unfortunately, given how the war in Ukraine is developing, this cannot be ruled out. The United States has very powerful nuclear weapons that could be given to the Poles or Ukrainians, but B-61 nuclear bombs are probably the best option, the publication said. Warsaw said it was open to making their US-made F-35 Lightning II warplane fleet capable of carrying American-made B-61 nuclear bombs. More recently, in the wake of NATO's decision to allow Ukraine's military to fire American long-range ATACMS and British Storm Shadow missiles into Russia, the Russian military retaliated by firing its impressive Oreshnik hypersonic weapon at the city of Dnipro. The West has no active defense against that weapon, which is nuclear capable or anything that is comparable in its arsenal. Thus, when conversations about possible escalations with Russia occur, inevitably the nuclear canard comes up, the national interest said. With the recent use of Oreshnik hypersonic weapon and the Kremlin's subsequent declaration that Russia is moving a tranche of these devastating weapons into Belarus, Poland is again feeling the proverbial squeeze. And it isn't only NATO members, such as Poland, that are trying to get in on the nuclear escalation talk against Russia. The Ukrainians sound obsessed with the prospect of gaining nuclear weapons from the West. The B-61 has been a pivotal player in NATO defense policy for decades. B-61s have been stationed in Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands and Turkey over the years. It can also be fired from the B-2 Spirit long-range nuclear stealth bomber, the F-15E and, as mentioned above, the F-35. The B-61 has been referred to as a dial-a-yield because the severity of the explosion it creates can be adjusted from 0.3 kilotons to as high as 360 kilotons. These weapons can withstand supersonic flight and possesses earth-penetrating abilities for blasting through hardened structures. Multiple modifications have been created to make the B-61 one of NATO's best doomsday weapons. Russian ruler Vladimir Putin said that the appearance of the Oreshnik missile system in service with the Russian army minimizes the need to use nuclear weapons. By and large, we now need to develop Oreshnik rather than the nuclear doctrine because a sufficient number of these sophisticated systems put us on the verge of virtually eliminating the necessity to employ nuclear weapons, he said. The head of the Kremlin said that Russia does not strengthen the nuclear doctrine but improves it